Hi, it's Sherry Colurgis with At 45, the magazine for women who are over 45 who want to own aging with spirit and joy. It's for those of us who are rediscovering who we are and exploring what we want next. And don't we want more of everything? Love, laughter, fun, and fulfillment. Today, we're talking with Diana Mullin from Houston, Texas. Now, she's lived around the world and is a member of a community of women called Newcomers and Neighbors of Greater Houston. As a board member and philanthropist, she's involved in a fabulous project that's accomplishing great things, and I'm so excited to hear about it. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your story. I know that you've traveled around the world.
Well, I started in Vancouver, born and raised, the third out of 7 children. I met my husband in '86. He lived in Texas and I lived in Port Moody at the time. He's an American. He worked for a company down here and then he worked for the company I worked for in Houston. And we just kind of met one day and just got together, and 6 months later I moved to Texas.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just a whirlwind romance, I guess. I was here for probably 6 months, and then we moved to England, just outside of, well, it was called Walton-on-Thames, just out of London, and we were there for 6 or 8 months, and then we moved to Morgan City, Louisiana. We thought it was a short stay, but it was 5 years, which is a small town, but a big town. The South is very friendly. I mean, they say hi to you if you're walking down the street. Then after we lived there for a while, I didn't really get into philanthropy until we moved to Africa. We lived in Singapore for 2 years. There, I belonged to a group, but it was a small group, and they didn't do much philanthropy over there. And then after coming home from Singapore, we bought a house in Houston. We were here for 7 years and we were transferred to Dubai for 2 years, which ended up to be 1 day short going on to 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was an experience. Africa was good. We lived in Africa for a couple of years in Nigeria. That kind of brought me out of my shell because I'm very quiet. People think I'm a snob, but I'm just shy. I remember one time when I was in Africa and came up to Vancouver because Anna was getting married. And I was at my mom's house and I said, okay, we're going to do the whole house, get it clean. We'll get cleaners in. Maid service, the cleaning service was just not doing anything. So I went downstairs and I got on the phone, and Gina had heard me. And she said, wow, you have come out of your shell. She says, I've never heard you be so boisterous and she said, I've never heard you be so that aggressive. You know, I said, I'm paying this money. I want it done now. So she said, and Africa did that to me because we lived in just outside of Lagos, where poverty there was, they had the rich Nigerians and then you had the poor Nigerians. And the poor Nigerians were really poor. And I did a little bit of philanthropy there with the Canadian Women's Group, not as much as we did in Dubai and here in the States. So that kind of brought me out of my shell. And then we went to Dubai, and I thought, I was there, I think, for about 3 months. I joined the American Women's Association of Dubai. And right away I got on the board with one of the ladies was philanthropy, that we went through a few people. And when her term was up, I was on her committee, the philanthropy committee. And when her term was up, she had asked me if I wanted to head it. And I thought, oh, I said, you know, once a month you have to go and talk in front of 300 women that are your members. I can't do that. I'll do that, but I won't speak. And we had a lady in our group she taught people how to do speeches and how to come out of yourself. And she gave me a few hints. And then by the end of probably 2 years or 3 years, she came up to me one day and she said, you're doing really good. She said, you have come out. So, and there we had committee of 12 ladies, and we had 12 charities, where some charities we collected donations for food, we did clothing, blankets, because it does get cold in Dubai. I mean, you think of being in the desert, it doesn't get cold, but in the winter, it's cold. I mean, it's 69 or 65. For us, there is cold, because in the summer, it's 125 or
Wow.
130. Yeah. I tested our water once. I turned the tap on. Our water from the cold water, the water from the hot water was 135 degrees. So in the summertime, we would turn the hot water off and use the cold water. And even the cold water was hot. So it got cold in Dubai. So I remember filling the back of my truck with blankets and socks. And we did a lot for the men's camps too, because they left their families to work in Dubai. And as rich as they are, they do have a lot of poverty there.
Mm.
And the workers have sort of, 12 to a apartment. Raise money, we would buy groceries, we donated to the food bank, we donated to the sailors. We would, once a year around Christmas, we would get shoe boxes and put toothpaste, so phone cards so they could phone home at Christmas.
Right.
We had one charity that was special needs, and they just did a wonderful job. That we had Make-A-Wish over there, and we had taken some kids who were basically on their deathbed, and I want a new room. I want a princess bedroom, and she'd get the princess bedroom. And then once a year, we would bring the charities and hand them a check for anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. So that was how I got into it there. And some of it was really sad to see. But one day we went to the food bank, which we donated to, and we got to pack everything up. We didn't know we were going to be outside sweating, putting stuff in bags, and the lineup out the door. It was just amazing how many people came to pick up food. A lot of the bakeries would come by and bring flatbread, truckloads of flatbread and rolls and sliced bread, and just amazing. So I did that for 5 years when we were over there. Excuse me. And we'd have a gala once a year where me, the shy girl, and our philanthropy group would go to different businesses to find donation for our auction for the gala. And we did it. We would raise, like I said in my letter, anywhere from $85,000 to $100,000. And that money went half to scholarships and then half to philanthropy. We had one school that there was, I believe, 12 kids, and we gave them scholarships to go to school. And they had to keep a certain grade to keep their scholarship. And so we had kids from grade 8 all the way to grade 12 and put through. And one year we picked one girl to go to school. Let me cry. She was, I think, 7. She's 4th generation, the first one to go to school.
Oh.
And we had her mother, and her grandmother at our luncheon, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. It was just, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in philanthropy or anywhere, besides my husband and my family. But so I did that for 6 years there. And when I came back to the States, I don't know how I got in. Oh, I know how I did. I was invited to a Dubai ladies lunch, because there was a lot of ladies that lived in Houston that lived overseas in Dubai. So I met this one woman. We started talking, and she had said, have you heard of this group? I said, no. And I've lived in Texas like 4 times or 5 times, because in 35 years, we probably moved 29 times. So
That's
or I think it's my life. I think it's my lifetime was 29. I think with my husband was 22. And she told me about this group. So I thought, okay, I'll join it. And so I joined it. And then we were at a NNGH function at someone's house at night, and I ran into this woman. Her name's Emily, and she had asked if I wanted to take philanthropy, and I went, I don't know. I said, I think when I talked to her at the lunch, and I had told her I did philanthropy in Dubai, and I said, let me think about it, because trying to do another women's group, and I thought about it. By the end of the night, I said, sure. And this position is a 2-year position, and now this is going on my 6th year. And we do the Boys and Girls Country, and we do Houston SPCA once a year. Boys and Girls Country is every month. Try to do in the summer if they need anything. August is our big one. We do school supplies. So at the end of the year with Boys and Girls Country, we raise with cash, checks, donations, about $6,000, $6,500, which is a lot for a small group. We're 187. And 2 years ago, just before COVID, I received a letter from them wanting to honor myself in NNGH. So we were given a plaque for Friends of NNGH, or sorry, Friends of Boys and Girls Country. So they had a luncheon what was presented to me. And the nice thing with them too is my husband always takes me to the Boys and Girls Country, and he took me to the luncheon. And Liz, who I deal with there, she says, where's Mike? I said, he's downstairs. Bring him up. So he was brought up for lunch, and he was recognized from the CEO and said that when Diana's there, her husband Mike is there. So he brings me up once a month. So they all know him. And then once a year, they do a spring festival, which they haven't done because of COVID. And they raise about $500,000 through, they do silent auctions, mostly for children, but Mike and I go up once a year. And if we don't, we donate money. They didn't have it last year, of course, because of COVID, and they're going to try to do it next year.
Right.
And then once a year, they do a Christmas lights tour of lights, which again, they had to postpone because of COVID. But every year they had it, we were always out of town, either back east or back west. So, and this year we back west again. So that's basically what I do. We just collect. I have a wish list that we do every month. I have jars that I put on the table every month and put money. And I have a speaker in September from Boys and Girls Country to for newcomers who don't know who Boys and Girls Country are. And then in May, which is our last luncheon, we have Houston SPCA come in. We usually raise about $600, $700 in one day for them. So yeah, I'm not really an animal person, but I do hear the stories, and when they tell us, I mean, it is hurtful. And you watch TV and you see all these animals just out in the cold, and you just want to take them all.
Yes.
But I don't have pets because I don't like the mess.
Yeah, I'm allergic to pets, so.
Yeah, I don't like the mess. So yeah, so this is, even during COVID, I would try to do a collection once a month for Boys and Girls Country. It dwindled down a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. They are one of our biggest charities that Mike and I do it personally too. We donate a lot to them personally. And they're a great group. They bring kids from 5 to 18. They have brothers and sisters that are there. Their families just can't take care of them.
Right.
Their parents are either alcoholics or drug addicts, or the kids have been abused. They have teaching parents. So it's in a family unit. They have to learn how to do laundry. Their rooms have to be cleaned and beds made before they go to school. They learn how to cook. They're on Facebook if you want to go on Facebook. They show kids 13, 14 cooking. They're having cooking lessons. It's a big facility. They have cows. They have a girl they call the goat girl. She raises goats and she sells them, and that money goes to her schooling.
Oh, so it's like a farm.
Well, they don't, but they sell their meat, but it's more for family units. Because most of these kids don't have families, or they have families, and one of the ladies told me a story of a child that went into their home, and every night they'd get up and she would be in the pantry looking at the food or eating just because it might not be there tomorrow. And one time they had to lock the door because everything was but she said, finally, she said, you don't have to worry. She said, you'll have food every day. You don't have to, the food will not go away.
Oh,
So they
that's
teach you how to,
heartbreaking.
it is, it's very heartbreaking when they've never had that much food in their pantry. They do have a commissary there where they buy their groceries, which a lot of the big grocery stores here, they donate, especially at Thanksgiving, there's one food grocery store, which donates a lot of turkeys and hams for their Thanksgiving and Christmas. And when they need something, I always ask them every month if there's something special you need, just give me a call. It goes into our newsletter. So every month I have an article in the newsletter. Matter of fact, I just got an email from one of the ladies. We have this list that, am I too late? And I said, no, never too late. So I got that into the newsletter for October. So they do a lot. They teach you religion. Each cottage has a different religion. And there's parents, their husband and wives that live there. And sometimes they have kids. So during COVID, not only they have their 8 kids, then the kids that live there, then their 3 or 4 kids homeschooling. So
Wow.
they said that was a challenge.
I would think so.
And their kids graduate. They just had 12 graduates this past June. Excuse me. Some of them go, sorry. So they have the one campus, which is 5 to 18, and they have a college campus. And the college campus teaches them how to be independent. So when they're done college, they can go get an apartment. They can learn how to cook, how to pay your bills, how to do your laundry. This last Wednesday was our luncheon, and Liz did a presentation. And this one girl, her grade, I'm not sure how it went. The grades were so high, she got a good scholarship, and she got a car. It wasn't a brand new car, but it was new to her.
Right.
So they treat you like my mother would treat me. You bring in love in their family, and you hear some of the stories and you just cry. I mean, one of the stories they told me that a boy was there. He was in an abusive family, but his dad says, I'm good, come home. So before he went home, they said, if you ever need us, no matter what time of day or night, whether it's snowing or raining, if you need us, this is your home. He was gone for about, I think, 3 months, and he called in the middle of the night. He said, can I come home? And they said, yes. And it just just makes me happy that they have somewhere to go.
Yes.
And there was a gentleman that came here to donating a freezer. And he said, he was an older gentleman, I'd say he's about 40, he works there now. He said, if it wasn't for them, I'd be dead. He said, I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. And he said, for the blessing of God, he said, they saved me. So that's what they do. They bring people in. We met a gentleman at the award ceremony. He's been there since he was 7. He went through school there. Now he works there.
Wow.
So yeah, so they do have single parents. The parents have their own apartment with their kids. They work 8 days in a row, and then they're off for 4. And then they have a lot of times single ladies or men would come in separately. The women would stay with the girls, and the boys with boys. Their education is paid for. They go to public school. Most of their things are donated. They do have, their families do come back for birthday parties. I saw one family, he was with his cottage family and then his real family, but he hasn't gone back with the real family because they're just still not able to take care of them.
Right.
So, and you do have,
that's such a heartwarming approach, including not only the child, but their families so that they maintain some kind of
Yes,
family unit.
yes. And they cook together. They do homework together. I took Anna with me one time, and she used to work for Safeway, and they do the same thing that the stores do. They check the expiration dates in the refrigerator. They have a chart on the fridge. It has to maintain this. And they're family there. They're family. So, and some leave and come back. Some leave and don't come back, but they're still part of that family. So yeah, and the first time we went to the spring festival, I sat and watched the kids, how they reacted to other people. And I was watching the older kids. They had empty out trash bins, and kids hate taking out the trash.
Yeah.
They didn't even mumble. I mean, they just did it with pride. They weren't fussing that, oh, I have to take out the garbage. They just went around, cleaned all the garbage bins and put new garbage liners in it. And it was like, oh, and they have a games room, they have a movie theater, they have a pool. So they do have not just schooling and that's it. They go up to fishing the other day. They all went fishing. And so they do family activities.
Well, it's a lifestyle. The organization is providing a whole lifestyle.
Yes, yes. And they're giving them love. So that's how I kept, and it was like every year I have to say, okay, my year's up. We have to find somebody else. And it's like, okay, Diane, you can still keep it. And I said, okay.
Well,
sorry, my nose is running. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I'd like to do more. I try to do more for them. I've talked to Mike a few times, maybe because you can go and be a volunteer, let's say take one house and celebrate each birthday. You just do like a birthday party, but you have to go, you can't just say, oh, I want to do it. You have to go through a long list of, they have to do background check on you, basically.
Right.
And the kids that do go there, they do have to be, you have to fill out a form, and it's not just, I'm going to drop my kids off. You have to apply to be there.
Right.
And most people they've got 100, right now there's 100 kids there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's usually anywhere from 85 to 100.
And how long has this organization been going approximately?
50 years.
50 years.
Yeah, they just celebrated. I just received a card and a nice little note from Liz, the one that I deal with, Liz and Susan, and just thanking me and NNGH for all the work we've done for them and the donations and stuff. And a couple of years ago, we had our ladies group. It's called Ladies Day Out, and one of their adventures was to the Boys and Girls Country. And they said, wow, I didn't realize this. And that's all you have to do is ask me. So yeah, so they've been out, and it's a really good organization. Makes me warm inside.
Yes. Well, and it's such a success story, Diana. Like,
it is.
It's the kind of process that it probably is emulated around, the North America, but it sounds like a very good example of how to do things right.
Yeah, they do abide by the Texas law. They're a nonprofit organization,
right.
But they do have to have, they pop in unexpectedly just to check up on you. So they do have guidelines they have to abide by. They just can't, just do what they want. And they're doing a great job. I mean, they raise a lot of money, but they raise over $5 million a year, and they spend the last year was $5,700,000, and they come in, and what goes out is $5,400,000. So all that money does go to their kids. And they've got older houses from the 70s, which they're slowly taking down and bringing the newer cottages. Because the other ones, you have to share a bedroom. These ones, the new ones, it sleeps 8. They have handicap bathrooms if you need. Sleeps 8. You have your own bathroom. You have to take care of your own room. When we go there and pop into their cottages and go through the bedrooms, beds are all made. The rooms are clean. There's nothing on the floor, and it's like, wow. So yeah, they do a wonderful job. They do. I said they teach you how to do laundry, so they do teach you a lot.
All the life skills that
All the
a
life skills
child
you need.
needs to be successful in
yeah.
adulthood.
Yeah.
That, yeah, a very heartwarming story.
Yeah.
And congratulations for being acknowledged on all that you've done.
I was very humbled when I got it, and it was like, wow, they put my name in there too. So I cut the letter and I sent it off to the board and just say, it's not just you, it's not just me, it's all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and they've accomplished so much. I'm just so impressed with how they've set it all up.
Yeah, it's in all the houses that are built, all the cottages, it's all donated money. I think Lowe's, one of our hardware stores, I mean, just amazing. It's just amazing what they have. And you go into these places and they're spotless, spotless. I'm a pretty clean person, but when I go in there, it's like, ooh. And there's 8 kids that live here. Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine, hey?
I know.
So the organization again is called Newcomers and Neighbors of Greater Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And the project itself is called, does it have a name?
No, it's just it's just philanthropy, and then we just have the 2 charities, which is the Boys and Girls Country, and then the Houston SPCA. We do them, we do them once a year, but from our year is from September to May, and then in the summer, if they need anything, they'll contact me, or I'll send them a note. Do you need anything? And then we'll either send it out or Mike and I'll just go get it, bring it up. And then in August is our big school supply fund or collection. And I can fill my car up.
And during COVID, that must have presented quite a lot of challenges.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't for the first couple of months, and maybe 6 months we couldn't bring anything up. And I just said, look, I'll bring things up. I'll try to see if we can do it. And I have sanitizer spray. I sprayed everything. Right. Every time something came in my truck, I sprayed it. And then it was about after 6 months or so, it was okay to go up there. Once it we all knew what was going on with COVID, because they weren't allowed to have people come or have donations because it's big scare. You have to wash everything and spray everything. Well, come to it, you didn't really have to. So I've got clothes that have stickers on still.
As do most women, right?
Exactly. So I go through my clothes, and most of them have not been worn or been worn once. And they're all they're brand new clothes, because I take very good care of my clothes. And we bring a container full of clothes up to the Boys and Girls Center. And just knowing that I just didn't give it away or stick it in one of those boxes, or sometimes I do things that, I know they're not going to get it too old for them, or take it to Goodwill, because I know someone's going to wear it. And it's silk shirts so anything, Susan always says, anything you can give us is great. Yeah. So I say we do a wish list every month, and most people are pretty good in the group. That some months, I'll get 2 or 3 things, but I always make sure that I bring more than enough. I try to buy enough for each cottage, because they have 11. And Mike said to me one day, you don't have to buy for each cottage. I said, yeah, I know, but you put 3 and just put another 8 or 10. Oh, that's okay. Just keep putting more in. And one day this lady was watching. I said, really, I don't have that many kids. So it was a little bit challenging, but we still did it. We still went out every month, and my husband and I would go to wherever we were meeting to collect things, and we did collect some things. But yeah, that was a bit challenging. Even for them, it was having 8 kids in your virtual schooling or
Yes.
homeschooling. They said that was the biggest challenge.
Oh, I can
They did
imagine,
it.
like, you hear people saying that having 3 was a challenge. I can't even imagine 8.
8 to 10, and plus their children. It's like,
Yes.
do they still have hair? I'd be pulling mine out.
I
But
know.
yeah, that was a challenge there. But we still have to wear a mask when we go there, which we still wear a mask anywhere we go.
Right.
So yeah, that was challenge. But now they've all gone back to school. Last June they had 12 graduates, and they've all gone to college. So some go to college here, some go out of state, and
You have provided, oh my goodness, a love story. I mean, meeting your husband through work and upping and leaving your own environment. That was a heartwarming story. And then traveling around the world, often people might think, oh, that sounds glamorous, but the challenges that you've overcome.
but the biggest challenge was Africa. That was the biggest challenge, trying to find. I mean, we had a beautiful home. It was provided by the company, but trying to buy your groceries. After about, I think I cried for 2 weeks when I got to Nigeria. And after that, I was out and about. I've got friends with another lady. If I wasn't home, they knew the both husbands knew I was with her and she was with me. We would go to the market. The markets were a challenge. About the second year, I helped renovate a staff house in Lagos, and I had to go buy the furniture, and so that was challenging driving from where I am to Lagos, which is you always had a driver. I never drove there by myself. I always had a driver because if you got into an accident as a woman, it's not good. But it was challenging. I liked it after when I first told my father I was moving to Africa. He said, "No, you can't go there." He says, "You know how bad?" I said, "Daddy, that was years ago when you were there." And when I got there, it was just as bad as what he said.
Wow.
From the airport to our hotel, it was all rubble. Just we got stopped so many times from the army, and but after a while, you just kind of go with the flow kind of thing. And I met a chief that we had to dinner. Actually, I have one of his paintings. But yeah, it was, we had an American club that we met the Marines, and we used to go to the Marine house, and then we went to the Marine ball once a year. That was amazing. First time, when you first get dressed, and because we don't have that in Canada really, but when I grew up. So that was a bit challenging, and going in and out of the country. I did it by myself. I would have a guard that come through with me. I grew up a little bit, and I got more, I guess, a little bit tougher.
Yes.
And came out of my shell a bit more too. Because I say every year, that's it. This is my last year. You have to find somebody else. Mike goes, "You can't give it up." And I said, "I know I can't."
So is there a key piece of wisdom that you have for women who maybe are at home, who aren't doing anything, particularly interesting, or they've reached that point in their life where they would like to do something different?
For me, getting into a women's group. I mean, if I didn't have this women's group, I would just be, I don't know what I'd be doing. I play Mahjong twice a week. Well, actually, I play 2 different Mahjongs. I play Chinese Mahjong, which hasn't started yet, and American Mahjong. I'm actually heading the American Mahjong again this year for the 3rd time. So during COVID, we hadn't played. And then just the last, I guess 5 months, we've been playing at my house, but I limit it to 7 women, and you have to be vaccinated.
Right. And where did you pick up playing that?
I picked it up in Dubai. The American Mahjong I picked up in Dubai, so I've been playing since 2012. And Chinese I picked up when I came here last, I guess, 4 years. So yeah, so that's fun, and you get to meet different women, and the group that we have come to my house, we talk half the time. Yes. So and you get to meet more people, and it's like your escape, especially during COVID. You can't do anything. And we did for a while. I did bingo online. We did a Zoom bingo, and with a group that I played mahjong with live. And I thought, I'm not going to do it as an NNGA. I'm just going to keep it as just a friend thing. So I didn't want to have 300, 100 people on. So we had a group of, I think, 11. And we would play bingo we talked for about an hour, and then we played bingo for an hour. So that kind of kept my sanity. My husband's been retired for 4 years, almost 5. So that's my little getaway when I do my mahjong. And all the women said, well, now that your husband's retired, are you going to give up everything? I went, no. You need something. You need to find something to, I say, even if it's a game you go out once a week to, just, you have to have something that's just yours.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is what mine is. It's the philanthropy. Well, it's my husband too, because he helps me. But the mahjong is something, and then having a luncheon once a month. Sometimes it's like, all these women, and I get anxiety with a lot of people, and it does bring me out a little bit more. So I think just trying to find a group, even if it's in your neighborhood. I tried our neighborhood to do a mahjong. When I was asked to take over our events in our neighborhood, we do a coffee every 3 months. I said, sure, I'll do it. So I had another woman and another guy that's in the neighborhood. We did a questionnaire. I said, let's get a questionnaire up there. Let's, figure out what they want to do. No one wants to do anything. I thought, okay, we do the coffee once every 3 months. And then after about a year or 2 years, I said, okay, you got to find someone else to do it. It's not challenging for me.
Right.
Even when I started with NNGH, the first couple of months I was doing philanthropy, I thought, this isn't challenging for me because I only have 2 charities. Where in Dubai, I had 12, and we had a committee of 12 people. And after a while, I thought, no, I'm going to stick with it. And it did. The more I got to know them, the more rewarding it was for me. And it just makes my heart better. It just
Well, I think it's really important. That's one reason why I started the magazine 6 years ago, was actually because I didn't have a circle of women around me. I worked in a male-dominated industry, and my mother had passed away. I was missing that female companionship. And I think it's so important. And as we age, it even seems to become more important, because it's so easy to get, in your own little bubble, and you start to lack that engagement and interest and challenge that keeps your mind and everything active, right? So it's very important. I agree. With all the traveling and the exotic locations and the need to always be learning about things, what is a key piece of learning that sort of has taken you through all the changes and the different places?
Be patient. I don't have any. Sometimes I have to really try to be patient. So yeah, so I've been to Rome, London, Paris, Amsterdam, Malta, Portugal, a few places in Africa, Singapore, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman, Scotland, Aberdeen, Scotland, Edinburgh, London. And then I come home and you go, now what do I do? Barcelona.
That is just amazing.
It amazes me too sometimes when I see that. I thought, I went to all these places. When we lived in Africa, I met Anna and her first husband in Amsterdam. They were on the honeymoon. So we thought, let's go meet them for a week. So we went down to met them for a week, and it was nice. I remember one time we went into the wax museum, and Mandela was there. It was a wax. Right. And I stood beside him and put my hand in his hand and took a picture of it. And then when we went back to Africa, I was showing people, look, Mandela. I met him. No, Madame, really? I said, yeah, look. I mean, it didn't look like wax. And I said, no, it's just wax. No, Madame, that's real. And they were so impressed. Well, I know I have led a privileged life with my husband. I've been retired for 36 years. So he said, if you want to go back to work, you can. But, when we lived in Morgan City or wherever, it goes, can you pack your bag? We're leaving in an hour. Okay, let's go.
Thank you so much for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
story. It was
Thank you
just
for
so
asking.
fascinating.